Hey guys, it's Erica from Erica Jean Sells, and today I am giving myself a challenge. I've got a couple thrift stores in town that I'm gonna go into and try to keep myself to just looking at hard goods. You know, I mostly pick up clothing and shoes and a few hard goods, but not too many. So today I'm just gonna give it a shot and see what I can find in the hard goods section. So why don't you come along and thrift with me? As you can see here, it's taking me willpower, but I'm walking right by all of those clothes. I'm not even looking to the side. I'm just heading to the hard goods. First thing I'm coming to here is Christmas, and I know it's really too late probably to be buying Christmas stuff, but I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't something great that I was missing, and I didn't really see anything that looked like it would be worth too much, so I kind of just looked and then went on my way to the next section. Did stop for a minute just to look at these Hallmark ornaments, because I think people buy those sometimes and they're good. These weren't vintage, they were just like a year old, and I didn't really see anything that interested me. Our St. Vincent de Paul stores get overstock and past season things from Pottery Barn and West Elm, and I think this was a Noel set of luminaries, like to set outside with candles in. And so I was taking a quick look at those. I thought they were neat, but I don't think that they would have had much value to resell. So I just passed them up. And I happened to see this pack of ornaments from Shiny Bright, which I know can do well if they're older, but these were just a few years old. They were new, not vintage, and from TJ Maxx Home Goods, so I just put those back on the shelf as well. I know a lot of resellers do very well with things that are still in package, so I picked up a couple toys. They didn't look great. This I wasn't sure about. At first I thought maybe it was a Brio set, and I don't know if those resell well. I was going to look them up if that's what they were, but they were just a Sesame Street, and so I didn't know about those, so I just set them back up there and kept on going. When you're trying to break into some new categories of hard goods, it's really hard because you feel like you don't know anything, where as if I was going through clothing or shoes, I would have had a lot more confidence. But I just took my time and was just looking things up on my phone as I went to see if I could see any good comps. And as you can see, I found a few things later on, but it's a little bit slow going when you're learning a new category. Don't look at the clothes, don't look at the clothes. Telling myself. Keep on walking, find some more hard goods. This is some more of that overstock past season stuff from Pottery Barn. And sometimes that stuff can do fairly well. These were some Pottery Barn teen. I think they were pillow shams or something like that. They didn't look too promising to me. Some candles. Actually was just smelling that to see if that would be something I would want. Sometimes they have some linens that can do fairly well that do come from Pottery Barn, but I wasn't really seeing anything that caught my eye as I went past the pillows and sheets. I did pull this out, something I was thinking it might be worthwhile, but it didn't look like it was that great. And then I saw some stuff in package. I looked at this lace tablecloth. It might have done all right, but they had it priced at $15, and I didn't want to spend that kind of money.
Can I get Tyler to the office, please? Tyler to the office, thank you.
These are interesting. They're again from Pottery Barn. They are ones that have been customized and then, I don't know, returned, or there was a mistake or something. And so I was just looking at those because I think the stockings themselves are so cute, and I was wondering how difficult it would be to remove the stitching. But I have tried that on a couple of other things, and I didn't have a ton of success, so I decided to pass those by. I stopped here for a minute. They had some full crib bumper pads that looked really nice. They were again from the Pottery Barn. The brand was Emily and Merritt, so I stopped and took a little bit closer look at those. They were not very expensive, but I ended up looking that up on my phone. I found one that was selling the exact same kind for $59, which would have been a great turnaround if I could have purchased those and sold them for that amount. But when I looked at how many had sold, there were none that were sold, and so I'm not really sure that was something that people were looking for, so I decided not to pick it up. Here's some more Pottery Barn stuff. I think this store must have just gotten a recent shipment because they had a lot more stuff than I normally see of small things like this. They also get furniture, which is usually a great deal, but I haven't seen so much of this small stuff as I did this trip. So I was just kind of taking a look to see if there was anything cheap enough. A lot of times my thrift store doesn't discount these items. The orange tags there are not discounted, whereas some of the other color tags will be discounted, like 25% or 50% off, but these all stay the same. I picked up, this was a little Peter Rabbit candle that I thought was really cute, but again, selling for too much for me to make any money on. Okay, I stopped here at an end cap that had some different kinds of lotions and perfumes and different things like that, and I don't know if you follow Thrift to Travel, but she always seems to find such great deals in these kinds of items, so I was thinking maybe I would find some great deals too. I did look up this one Redken brand. It was a hair product called Blondage, I think. And so I was looking that up to see how it did, and it seemed to do decently. So I did end up putting that in my cart. Next thing I found was this shower scrub called Cold Shower. So again, I was trying to look and see if it would scan for me to give me an idea. This one didn't scan, so I ended up having to go ahead and just type it in. And when I looked it up, to me it didn't seem like it was selling very well. People weren't looking for it. There was one listed, but none had sold, and so Usually, if that's the case, if none have sold, it just makes me think nobody's really looking for this, so I don't want to pick it up. Way up on the top shelf in the back, I found this package of Dryel, which I feel like maybe I've seen some people pick up before. Who knows? But I went ahead and scanned it, and it looked decent, so I put that in my cart as well. These were some napkin rings from Pier 1, and since Pier 1 just went out of business, I didn't know if they might be worth something, so I went ahead and did a quick look on those, but again, it didn't look like there were any sold comps, so I just went ahead and put those back. This is one of those salt lamps, but it didn't have a light in it. But I figured that wouldn't be too hard to find. I'm actually not getting this one to resell. It was on one of my daughter's Christmas lists, something similar to that. So she's actually going to get this as part of her thrift gift, which is kind of fun. Okay, I pulled this one down. It just looked kind of fun and interesting to me. I don't normally pick up a lot of plush, but this was kind of cute. Little elephant that would be like mounted on a wall like a deer head or something like that, and I thought that looked kind of interesting, so I just happened to put in the brand and put in elephant head, and a few things showed up, and when I went to the solds, it looked like that several had sold for like in the $25 range or something, and I was like, are you kidding me? So I definitely thought that would be worth picking up. You can see here, I was thinking that they looked like the same thing. I'm comparing there. Yeah, it looks good, and sold really well. Well, when I got home and looked at it, it actually, the solds were for actual heads that you can wear as part of a costume. They weren't like a little plushie, and so I'm pretty sure I picked that up, and it's worth nothing. But anyway, live and learn. Lots of things that I'm scanning today are coming up with no solds, which just tells me it's not worth picking up. So that's part of the learning process. I thought this picture was really pretty. It's whole pottery, and I know those are really well-made pieces. They don't always resell great, and this was kind of expensive. I think they had it selling for $15 or something. I went ahead and looked it up anyway, just to see if it would be worth picking up, but to me it didn't look like I would make enough money on it, and it would be very difficult to ship and to make sure it didn't break, and so to me it just wasn't worth it. I really like these cottage style teapots, and there were several different styles of them, and I kept picking them up and looking at them, but when I looked at comps, it looked like they weren't really worth very much, so I just passed on it. This was a pretty jug, but it was just a modern piece. Kind of an unusual mug here. I thought it was neat, and there was a couple of them, but I just didn't think it would be worth much. I grabbed this serving piece right here, thinking it might be silver, and so I took a look at it quickly, but then realized I hadn't brought my reading glasses with me from the car, so I couldn't even see what it said as far as a marking, so I just decided to move on. At the end of this aisle, there was a big basket full of eyeglasses and sunglasses, and I've had really good luck reselling eyeglasses just for the frames and have made fairly good money on it. So I always look at eyeglasses and sunglasses when I'm in a thrift store. Usually what I'm looking for is if it's good quality. A lot of times if it's a piece that's made in Europe somewhere, or it's just a more expensive brand. But unfortunately, the glasses that I was looking at here weren't really worth anything. This pair was actually interesting, and I looked at it for a little while. It was a vintage pair of aviator frames, but they were just not in good condition, so that's why I ended up not taking those.
It's going good. How you doing? Good. $1.99, she said.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Now it's on to the pots and pans, and this is an aisle that I never really have looked at before, but recently I've started watching some videos by Hustlin' Hooks, and they talk a lot about pots and pans and selling them, and so I figured this would be a good chance to kind of look around and see if I could find anything. And there was a few brands that they mentioned to look for, so I'm trying to look at all these pots and pans and see if I can find anything that rings a bell or might be something that's worthwhile. This is actually a pressure cooker that I'm looking at here, and I think some pressure cookers can be worth good money. This was in pretty rough condition, so I just passed on it, but there was a lot to look through, so I spent quite a bit of time in this aisle.
I got you.
when I pulled this pan out, it felt super heavy, and it was like an egg cooker or an egg poacher or something like that, and I thought, oh, this is going to be really nice, and it was really nice, but it was just a Kirkland, a Costco brand, so I put that one back. I know that some of these copper-bottomed or copper-clad pans are worth picking up. That one didn't have a brand on it, so that's why I didn't end up taking that one. And again, cast iron like this can be worth something, but it didn't look like this was a brand that would get much attention. This was a really heavy duty pot, and I picked it up a couple different times and looked at it and put it back, and then I ended up looking at the brand and pulling up comps. It was a brand I'd never heard of before, but it looks like this is a small pressure cooker, and it looks like they do fairly well. Unfortunately, when I got it home, I realized that the lid is not the pressure cooker lid, it's just a separate lid, so I'll have to list that and note that the pressure cooker lid isn't included. This, again, is one of those copper-bottomed pots, but it did have a brand on it, and it was Revereware, which I have heard Hustlin' Hooks talk about, so I ended up grabbing that one, too. I like the look of this kettle, but when I turned it over, I realized it needed the electric base that went with it that would actually heat the water, and it didn't have that, so I put it back. This roasting pan looked nice. I picked it up, but it felt very, very light, and it didn't have any kind of marking on it, so I had no idea what it was or if it was worth picking up, so I decided not to take it. Then I spotted this covered dish back behind some of the glassware, and it just looked like really nice pottery. When I ended up getting it turned over so that I could read what was written on the bottom of it, I saw that it was actually McCoy pottery, which is a really nice brand of pottery, so I was feeling to see if there were any chips. There was a little chip on that interior rim there, and a tiny nick on the outside, but otherwise it looked really good. I really liked the colorway and the striping on it, and so I just figured I was going to give this a shot because I like the style of it. Another unmarked roasting pan here. This caught my attention because it was a cake top, and I liked that copper color, but it was dented in and there was no base that went with it, so I didn't end up getting that. And then this also looked like it could be for a cake, but it was kind of rusted out on the bottom, and I was thinking maybe it would say something on the outside like cake or something like that, but it didn't, and so it didn't have enough interest for me to keep it. I'm heading down the craft aisle now, which sometimes you can find some interesting stuff in this aisle. And I just happened to turn back and look, and I saw this macrame piece was an owl, and it was really nicely done. I don't know if it's vintage or not. It looks like it could be from the 70s, but I don't know that for sure. It wasn't that expensive, so I decided to just put it in my cart and take it with me. Now I'm looking at the yarn. I've sold yarn bunches of times, and I really enjoy it, but there wasn't anything that was that great. This material caught my eye. It was very heavy upholstery material, and I was looking to see if there might be a name on it, because sometimes in the selvage of the material it will tell you the name, and then I could have done some research, but it didn't have any of that info, so I didn't pick it up. I wasn't exactly sure what this was, some sort of a train. But I was just looking to see if I could see a brand, which I couldn't. I just tend to pick up things that just catch my eye, so that's why I'm picking certain things up. These are embroidery kits, which I've also sold, but none of them had like the cover photo on them, or that one didn't. This one did. It just didn't look like it would be interesting. And then here I found a paint by number kit, which I thought might be kind of cool, but it had been opened, so I didn't know if it was complete. And it also wasn't a vintage kit, it was a newer one, and so I ended up putting that back. Here was something that looked like it was vintage. It was a lounge repair kit, and so I did go ahead and scan it. There were actually some for sale, but when I went to see solds, there were none sold. So again, if there aren't any sold, that makes me think it's not something people are looking at. I picked these up because it had a Mary Englebright pattern on it, but I think someone had just made those homemade, so I didn't take those. I'm about coming to the end of the aisle, and this is about the end of the hard goods section at my store.